gentlemen, thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Good to have Tariq Spence back. It was good with the Duffy boys last week. That was kind of fun.
Was it? Was it good?
Yeah,
it was
good.
fun. I watched the whole thing over and over and over.
Always
again.
nice to meet a viewer.
I will not comment further. It's good. It was fun. It was good. It's good to have you back.
We both refereed the brothers in. So
you're going to
it's
explain your
fun.
absence and your unfinished business. I'm kind of looking forward to this.
Absolutely, the clear and indecisive MVP race is over.
Yeah, and you saw it firsthand. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And you're wearing the stripes. I love those. The candy stripes.
This is, I mean, look, the Amherst have the best sweater in hockey history, in my opinion. Somehow this alternate is better, and the Amherst just made the Calder Cup playoffs, so clinch that. I just wish the Stars would have held up a little bit.
All I can see is Metcalf in that jersey because that was they won the Calder Cup last time they were wearing them regularly.
I think Sharky, there's so many guys that like pop in your head from those that great 96 Calder Cup team, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, cool. Hey, we were in a discussion last week a little bit about sportsmanship, a little bit about trash talking last week. I did unfinished business on it, and it generated. My kids hate me now.
Yeah, I get that.
For one, but I thought it was something worth talking about. It was kind of brought on by the women's NBA, the women's college basketball championship, and all the ill feeling there, and. Whether sportsmanship has been totally replaced by gamesmanship.
No, I don't think it. And trash talking is a part of this whole world that we live in nowadays. We do it all the time. We do it outside of sports. So I don't understand what this total outrage is of one-upping other people in front of their face. It's called social media. But at any rate, I thought about this the other day. You know who was the first that I saw to do the ring thing? I think it was Aaron Donald in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Who was the first to do the ring thing in the NBA? I think it was Steph Curry in the NBA Finals. We're talking very high-rated TV shows for primetime big players. And then when it comes to women, it seems like, oh, no. We can't have this. This is just unsportsmanlike conduct. But then again, what brought us to that game? It was Caitlin Clark and the way she was acting, the sort of trash talk, the don't guard her, that type of thing, and the fact that they beat South Carolina, who was undefeated at the time. So that drew everything into this moment that turned out to be the highest rated game. I say that to say this. We love to get the selective outrage, like Chris Rock says, on certain things, yet when it's our team that benefits from it, we love it and want to embrace that moment. So I'm a little bit confused on what we really want.
Go ahead.
Oh, everything you said, I agree with 100%. I'll go further, right? I mean, like, to make the statement, because your take wasn't the only take I saw like this, right? Like, well, where, men can do it because men are bad, but women shouldn't do it because they're of a higher cut. Well, look, when you say something like that, it almost it says to me what I hear is, well, I don't look at women's sports as valid as men's sports. If you want to have that take, that's fine. But, I mean, when you look at something like women's professional basketball, women's soccer, World Cup especially, the Olympic stuff like that, I mean, it is, right? It's entertaining stuff. The more exposure that these leagues and players are getting, the more the ratings are going up. And look, man, the fact of the matter is this. In the grand scheme of things, sports don't matter. I love them. I live for them. But I love them because of the trash talking and the thing that gets brought back and forth. It's entertainment.
But they do matter because people like you love them.
But I love them because
it makes your life better.
But because of what we're describing, right? Like if, Jalen Ramsey, who's now in the Bills division, is playing Josh Allen 3 years ago against the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And he doesn't do that interview in the offseason where he calls Josh Allen straight up trash. And then Josh Allen starts getting in the faces of the Jacksonville Jaguars while they beat him, right? That game isn't as entertaining. Do I care? Do you care? Do we care about sports and just simple numbers? If there isn't the human element, why wouldn't we just watch some computer generating numbers in front of us? It's the same thing.
Or let's go back to a term that I think a lot of us in certain generations are the bulletin board material.
The
word bulletin board material was always, don't give them bulletin board material. Don't talk anything.
Now you go out of your way to do it.
But it's done and it still draws you in. It's still, okay, how is this guy going to perform? I'll give Trae Young, for example. There's this rumor that he was going to be traded during this offseason with the Atlanta Hawks. What does he do that night that the rumor comes out? Put together a heck of a performance and totally destroys the Miami Heat. I don't know if they're in or not. And their chances they had to go to another playing game. That's the whole point of it.
Okay, but would Muhammad Ali be Muhammad Ali without what he did? I mean, look, Muhammad Ali was all self-promotion.
Yeah, but his treatment of Joe Frazier was just abominable.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I think that's one of the most under-discussed topics in sports history. That being said, there was a reason why that was the fight of the century 3 separate times, only once when they held the belts. If you think about the most famous pictures in sports history, Chuck Bednarik in the 50s standing over a dead Frank Gifford, pumping his fist. We could talk about Ali standing over Sonny Liston, pumping his fist. Any major sports moment that stands out in anybody's head has what we are describing in it.
I just think that when you bring the trash talk before the event and the event turns out to be bigger, and then you take one moment from that event that totally demolishes everything else that led to it, you're just totally disregarding it. It was the trash talk and the big upset the game before that led us to the big game that had this moment where the star player wasn't even the star player.
And to your point, if you go again along, what's going on still to this day between Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, right? All of that stuff. There is a 6-part documentary, half of it, which was one of the highest rated documentaries in American history. Half of it details what Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan said to each other. We love it. We should embrace it.
We're at the Rochester Press Box talking Buffalo Bills next.
I have some travel books, Volume 1, Volume 2. You'll be able to get one of these books for free when you buy the new Volume 2 for only $14.95. Contact me at MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Bill segment is brought to you by Ralph Honda, for 3 generations celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today. Find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. I'm not rooting for the bad old days of the Buffalo Bills, but it's getting tougher and tougher to get tickets to see this football team play.
So what was the story this week? That they're going to release 2,000 more tickets to season tickets, so there'll be 6,000 around individual seats available that aren't season ticket holders? I mean, look.
Well, that's crazy. And the reason I know this, like, you get season ticket holders, you befriend a season ticket holder, they can get you tickets to games that you want to go because they get first priority.
Absolutely.
That pool is shrinking drastically so that there's almost nothing left.
So here's the thing. In a community like Western New York, where the majority of people who have season tickets are going to the games, I think this is okay, right? Like the people that are willing to spend the money and invest the Sundays going to the games every week, the stadium's going to be full with legitimate fans. I understand your concern when you talk about a larger city where there's companies just buying up seats to resell them again. That being said, I mean, I don't know, right? Like there was a time when this team wasn't good, where you had the last game of the season and the stadium was half empty. I mean, look, I've got my season tickets. I was there for all those games. I sat there for 8 years before they made the playoffs in the freezing cold, watching Tim Tebow along with 40,000 other people in that stadium puke all over himself. I mean, if you've been there, if you're willing to invest, should the Bills not allow you to do that?
It is an exciting time, and this is the highest measure of the Buffalo Bills that you want to see. So, I mean, obviously, you want to get a ticket. You want to get you're not going to get that many home games this year, I think, and so you're going to want to see this team. But you got to capitalize on this moment right now. This is their time to do so. So, I mean, it's been a long time, but they got to rake it in somehow.
Yeah, they came up in the London lottery this year too.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I'm looking forward. I'm going to England for that game.
You're not going to England.
Yeah, I already talked to the guys. We're going to broadcast live from England.
You are not.
I'll tell you about it off the air.
No, you are
I'm
not.
going. My way, it's cleared.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
If it's the Giant game,
yes,
I will work on my passport extremely hard.
Yeah.
If they move that game, I would like to go to the Bills game with you if it's the Giants at home.
Oh, I was going to say, do you know someone else who's going to the Bills game after all the things you say on the show about my team? You think you're going to the game with me? You think you're going to the game with me?
Why would I go with anybody else? With my protector, my Captain America.
Protector.
My Captain America.
I'm going to be the one jumping in with him. What do you mean,
what are you talking about? I'm going to wear my Giants gear. We're going to hug and do nice things and have nice fun.
Yeah, to get back to the original thing, I don't have an issue if they want to sell them all at season tickets because teams do that. And the Bills already have like a 6-year waiting list, I guess, for season tickets.
Which came out of nowhere. That's only within the last 3 years. I mean, look, I get your initial concern here, right? Because not everybody can afford to invest the time and the season tickets. There are people that should be able to go to 1 game a year, 2 games a year. But I understand the other side of it where, let's say, knocking on wood, completely crazy, the Bills come out and they're 6-7 at one point. There's no guarantees those last 3 home games sell out. In fact, I mean, you see at the end of the year,
secondary market comes down.
Yes, exactly. As the weather gets worse and the the playoffs are locked up and the seeds are all done, those tickets aren't as expensive. So if the Bills can't sell them, why would you not sell them before you have to?
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have.
It is a nice problem. The weather gets worse. It's a whole bunch of
That's
different
not a
factors.
nice problem.
No, well, it is. Well, it does lead towards the new stadium, which you guys can get into. So, I mean, that's part of it. Come on, you're going to keep that open and get a dome.
Yeah, we'll deal with that when it comes, right? 2026.
He doesn't want it. He shouldn't get it.
Our Bills segment is brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like it or not is next.
It'll be nice and warm and toasty.
Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road.
Museum in Corning, New York that gets overlooked all the time. Wait until you see the treasures inside. I'll take you there. Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. Just look for the Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips, where the MVP experience is better than ever. Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair, no appointment needed. Stop by a Rochester location today. Like it or not, Boston Bruins' chances with all the record breaking in the regular season when they get to the Stanley Cup.
They look great, right? They look unstoppable. Can you tell me how many President's Cup trophy winners have won the Stanley Cup over the last 10 years? Because I believe it's one. And even past that, it's rare. Look, man. Stanley Cup playoffs are a different type of monster, and maybe Boston is different because they have the playoff experience with the veterans they have on that roster. What they don't have is goaltending playoff experience. As great as Linus Ullmark has been as the starter, as almost equally as great as Jeremy Swayman has been as a backup, you're going to be seeing things that you haven't seen before. Ullmark's got one playoff run of experience. If you're asking me if I'm taking the Bruins or the field, I'm taking the field, and I put all my money on it.
Vegas is too. I think they're 7-5. Look, what do you look for? You say they're different, and you watch more hockey than anybody here. What do you look for?
It's weird. It's like there's a balance of you need a grizzled team that has had experience that doesn't have too many miles on its legs. For example, the last 3 years, Tampa Bay has been that grizzled team with experience. But this year, with all of the extra hockey they've played, having gone to the finals 3 straight years, there's no way they're going to be able to keep up. You look at a team like Toronto, right, who has been unstoppable in the regular season the last couple of years, bowing out in the first round. That team should be able to do it because they have, quote, experience. But they've never gotten past that first round with the stars that they have. Colorado, as up and down as their season has been, might be that team. They're getting healthy at the right time. They have the experience of the run last year. Now, going back-to-back is really hard, but their legs are young enough. They haven't played enough hockey in the playoffs yet. That's the team. I'm not picking to go all the way, but that's a team like that goes deep.
As a casual hockey fan, do you like the randomness of the Stanley Cup playoffs? I mean, where you really can't tell?
Well, that's the only time I watch. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not watch the regular season. The only time I get into it is for that comment I made a couple weeks ago. Who is the hot goaltender at that time? And it's just that exciting. Like, I find it to be fascinating when baseball's just getting started. There's no football, basketball sort of in the playoffs. Every once in a while you take a break. There's nothing better, I think, in sports, probably top 3, than playoff NHL hockey.
Yeah, that's why May is such a great month. Like it or not, Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rays, as we speak, are 11 games off to start.
If you look at this team, number 1 in whip, number 1 in pitching, number 1. I mean, they have just as many home runs. They are actually a better pitching team than they are a hitting team right now. I think 5th average in Major League Baseball, and they are blowing teams out. The closest game they had in that 11-0 run was, I think, a 1-0 win over Boston. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go perfect. Yeah. They're probably lost by the time this show airs, but they look pretty darn good.
I'll tell you what the comparable is. We'll go back to hockey. I mean, people in this area remember when they came out of the strike season in the NHL, the 05-06 Sabres all of a sudden were built to just win because of the changes in rules. They didn't prepare for it. That's what this is. The Rays had a roster they didn't realize was going to be able to be unbelievably successful with rules they never saw coming. It's pretty amazing.
Is that part of it, you think? They're doing things that they didn't expect to be able to do well because of the rule change?
Yes, and I mean, look, they're going to want to take credit for it, right? The GM, but
year in and year out, is there a smarter organization in any sport than the Tampa Bay Rays?
And just have not been able to get the crown yet, but I will say this. If you look at Major League Baseball, it's pretty even amongst baseball teams. They're either at 500, 2 or 3 games under 500. At this point right now, I think the Mets are like 6-6, but they're only 2 games back out of Atlanta, who's also, I mean, it's pretty even baseball, which makes for a nice race for the next couple months.
I knew you'd squeeze the Mets in there somehow.
I have to. Please pray for them.
Like it or not, brought to you by Sport Clips with Unfinished Business next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Rochester Press Box, our Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brew House, your beer destination since 2012. Visit our gift shop, enjoy tasting at our pilot brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant at the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business, Pat.
It's time to talk about a man, honor a man that nobody thinks about in New York, Udonis Haslem. If you don't know who he is, he plays for the Miami Heat. At least he did play for the Miami Heat. They lost the play-in game earlier this week. They may be out by the time this show airs. 20 years he's played in the NBA, which is remarkable for any player that's ever played NBA basketball. What's more amazing is he was undrafted, an undrafted player into the NBA who spent a season over in Europe before signing on with his hometown team just to have an extra body while they were doing summer league and training camp. And then he made the team. And he was riding the bench for a little while, but it's great. You're just on the team. This is fantastic hometown team, Udonis Haslem. Then he started making the rotation. Then he became an unbelievable, valuable piece for Dwayne Wade and Shaq-led championship teams. Then all of a sudden, they had the big 3, but you weren't going to win those championships with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh without Udonis Haslem. And then as things do, that ends and all the superstars go away. And usually teams completely dismantle, and that's the end of things. Except they didn't. The Miami Heat have been consistently good for the last 17 years. And one of the big reasons, if not the biggest reason, is Udonis Haslem, a guy who does all the dirty work on the floor, a guy who's not going to put 50 on the board unless you absolutely need him to, which he almost did in his final regular season game in Miami. He is a guy who, if you enjoy watching basketball, does absolutely everything right on the floor. He was a starter. He was a star. He took a demotion and came off the bench. He hardly plays anymore, but he is on the sideline, pumping his guys up every single game and helping them lead in practice. 20 years from an undrafted free agent, multiple championships, and somehow still, he's not appreciated enough.
Trust the process. That's exactly what they did in Philadelphia. And I trust that the NBA voters will make Joel Embiid the MVP. On a Tuesday night for my son's 16th birthday, we traveled to Philadelphia with the last few regular season games, a game between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. I walked in hoping, like I do at the end of the season, unfortunately that's where his birthday ends, that the stars play. And just like his 10th birthday in Cleveland, they all played. But yet it was a close game all the way through. Joel Embiid, 52 points and labored and made every shot. That was the night Doc Rivers basically said the MVP race is over and it should go to Joel Embiid. I think it should go to Joel Embiid, not just because that he played hard. Tuesday night, rival, wanted the game, got the game, took the team on his back. That to me is an MVP. Nothing against anybody else who is a candidate for it, but the real MVP was won that night. Should go to Joel Embiid for all the blue-collar, hard-working people of not only Philadelphia, but the NBA that show up every night in an era where there's also let's rest and have our players ready to play the next night. He went to work on a Tuesday night, got a win, and got a big win against a rival that he needed to overcome. I honor Joel Embiid, and I'm glad he showed up for my son's birthday so that he could see him play and put in that work. MVP to me.
It's still the best of my bad ideas. Better than professional relegation, better than demonstrating good sportsmanship on occasion, rare occasion. Look, what's some of the biggest problems that our professional winter sports have? It's that the regular seasons don't matter enough. It's that the stars are taking nights off due to load management. And the fans at the arenas and watching on TV get cheated as a result. It's that teams that spend 6 months actually playing to win don't get enough back in return. The Boston Bruins have rewritten the NHL record books for regular season wins and points. Yet, there's less than a 50-50 chance that they'll win the Stanley Cup. The Denver Nuggets, the Sacramento Kings of the NBA, finished first and third, respectively, in the Western Conference. But nobody gives either of those teams a chance to win the hardware, while the Warriors and the Lakers have spent all year stumbling around are considered contenders. Regular season success doesn't mean enough come playoff time. Fixing it is as simple as giving the higher seeded team an extra home game in the best-of-7 series. 2 home, 2 away, 3 at home. A 2-2-3 instead of a 2-2-1-1-1. You'll even save on travel expenses. Teams will care more about getting home court. They'll care more about getting home ice. They'll play harder in the regular season. Every game will matter more. It is so simple, it's maddening. I make this plea every year to the sound of crickets and ridicule from my fellow panelists, and I'll make it again next year, just so that you know. That's our Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brewhouse, and that is our program. Stop shaking your head.
It's not that
heard you laugh.
bad of an idea.
It's the dumbest idea, and he does it every year. And every year, it's like running into a brick wall where you have to point out the 9 things that are wrong with it. You never listen, Bill. You
I know,
never
there's
listen.
2 minutes you'll never get back.
Huh. Let me think about that.
Yeah, you
That's-
think.
Another 5 years, I'm going to have one of you.
Yeah, you yell at both of you.
That is our program. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.
Now you're mad he's evolving? Now he comes up with this brilliant idea. He's like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
He's not evolving. I've heard it every year since I've started this show.